Yo, 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 you are tuning in to the Notion Podcast. I am your host, Dizzy D. Spill, and it is just me today. The guys are busy taking care of business. You know, we do have lives outside of the lives and controversy and conversations that we cover. But yeah, basically, I definitely wanted to get into some of the topics that we have on hand. Before we get started, got a lot to discuss. There's been a lot of things that's happened. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys can breathe now because of the fact that TikTok didn't completely go away. Ah, man. My bad. I gotta get my... It didn't go away. It looks like there's an extension, I guess, that you can say, or whatever you want to bring up. But it was definitely a meltdown. People were upset. People were crying about how they going to make their money. I hope this taught a lesson about getting different streams of income. I know that's not easy for everyone or most people, but, you know, you got to look into different things that, you know, will protect your finances and your financial power, I guess. So, yeah, basically, yeah, if you don't know what happened or what's been going on with TikTok, obviously, you know, you probably was sleeping under a rock or whatever the case it is. But looks like we got an extension. So take advantage of it, people. Learn lessons from it. Personally, I wasn't tripping. I definitely did take the situation seriously. But to all the TikTok influencers that got your bag back temporarily, salute to you. Congratulations. Hope you make some moves. But it was definitely pandemonium over the weekend and people tripping out as we step into a new presidency from not a new face that is at the time of the recording going to be, but the time this recording will drop, new president. Donald Trump is back in the business. We're going to see what these next 4 years are going to do. I guess shout out to him for talking to whoever or giving a promise about an extension on TikTok. All right, so happy for the TikTokers. While we're talking about 45, 47, Trump, some people got some things for Nelly and Snoop Dogg about performing for some of the inauguration parties. Now, people were pissed off with Snoop because he has so much to say about certain artists and certain entertainers performing for Donald Trump's inauguration for his first term. And then, you know, people pulled receipts and people had a lot to say about him, you know, switching sides and performing for Trump this go around. My take on it personally, I feel like I can understand where people are coming from, but what I've learned in life is that a lot of people at the end of the day are they're very fleety. Okay, so we already know that you can't make everybody happy. Yes, was it some hypocrisy or some, you know, him being contradicting or hypocritical with his thoughts on other people doing it and then going ahead and doing it. But I mean, people change their mind. People change their mind about who they date, where they live, how they're going to eat, their health, all kinds of things. So I've learned throughout life to not be committed or married to one idea. I mean, I am married, but you know what I'm saying? Like putting all your eggs in one basket as far as conversation and thought process, because those things change. And that's what people got to understand, that people change. People make different decisions. They have a different outlook than they did on certain things. And that's just what has to happen. And so with Snoop, yeah, it's challenging. But at the end of the day, come on, y'all. Yeah, for people that are millennials, the older millennials, we've seen Snoop switch up 100 million times, and I don't mean in a negative way. When Snoop first hit the scene, Snoop was on his crippin', gang-banging, you know, gangster music. By the time we were in high school, he was making more feel-good music. but he was letting people know he's still that guy. This dude has dropped gospel albums. He's dropped reggae songs with Eddie Murphy. I mean, the guy he's a damn grandfather. I mean, what I don't know what the big deal is, man, but all I know is I do have empathy for and sympathy for entertainers at times, because I just believe that they love you one minute, they hate you the next. And the thing is you still got responsibilities regardless of how people feel about you. So in my eyes, I don't have anything against Snoop. And I think it's weird that, when it comes to this whole thing, this election and politics and what side people choose, I think people forget why entertainers are here and what entertainers are supposed to do. Once you start looking at a performer's or an artist's views on certain things, and now you're judging them off of that, what ends up happening is you're taking away why you're there in the first place. Now, if they're really big on using their platform to promote their beliefs, then I understand. But a individual making a personal choice, they make these decisions every day in private. There's a whole lot of things that they feel and they say in private. So you got to ask yourself, if you're going to invest into these entertainers and you're going to invest into their lives and their thoughts, are you investing in what it is that they do or what it is that they believe? And if you're investing in both, then hey man, do what you do. But if I buy somebody's album, I want to hear the talent. I want to see the skills. Or if I'm watching a movie, talent, skills, and I'm going to give my critique on that. I'm not going to watch a Denzel movie and be like, yo, man, he's a great actor because of the way he treats his family. There's a whole lot of slime balls that are great entertainers, and there's a whole lot of people in the entertainment industry that are trash at what they do, but they're amazing people. So, I mean, you could take what you want with that and do what you want with that, but at the end of the day, sometimes we mix in our beliefs, and we want our beliefs to match what we are entertained by, and we want them to match us, and it doesn't work like that. It doesn't. So, hopefully he'll get that. Hopefully people will get that figured out. But me personally, it doesn't bother me. Same thing with Nelly. These are both artists that I grew up listening to. I was a little bit older when Nelly came out, but I've just learned, I'm at that point in my life where I've just learned that the more you invest in what people do that entertain you outside of their entertainment and their artistry, the more you invest into that, the more unhappy you're going to be, because they have a right to be an individual. Now, this isn't me, drawing my line in the sand and being like, y'all need to leave people alone that support whatever, whoever. My thing is this: look, if you see certain people supporting something that you're totally against, and you're looking at it like, oh, I thought we had the same mindset and we don't, so I'm gonna go this direction, I'm no longer gonna support that, then by all means do that. But at the end of the day, you need to understand what you're attaching yourself to. You know what I mean? Like, really look at that. So, I just think that people are overreacting, just like people were overreacting over the whole TikTok shutdown. One thing I will say about black people is we got to pick. I know people listening to the podcast and listening to the show have heard the expression "pick a struggle." And for my black folks during this time, where you guys, the black folks that aren't completely sold and are scared of what's going to happen with Trump being back in office, pick a struggle. And what I mean by that is we can't sit up here and every decision by every influential black person that is made, we got to attach ourselves to. Now, I understand you got your shade rooms and your different culture apps and pages that are promoting all the latest news, but we really do got to pick a struggle because we're all over the place. We have groups of us that are against the newer era of hip hop culture with the type of music and the type of ways that women are exploiting themselves. And then we have people that are saying it's just a whole bunch of y'all hating on us because it's our time to shine. We have black people that want to promote being self-sufficient and kind of want to go back to the days of the Black Wall Street days. And then you have some people that are saying black culture is nasty and disgusting. And I'm seeing And I know you guys know what influencers I'm talking about. And I see their side, and I also have my disagreements about it. But moving forward, because we are, one thing I will say about Donald Trump that a lot of us understand and figured out during his last term is he had the power and the influence to really make a lot of bigots and a lot of racist people comfortable with their views on other groups. And I'm very appreciative of that. I don't look at a person that voted for Trump and say, oh yeah, they're racist or they're this or they're that because they voted for him. Because that's just their perspective on who they think and believe in that can do a decent job running the country. However, there are a lot of people that I still to this day believe they don't understand Republicans. They don't understand Trump, and they're sitting there like, yeah, man, Trump's gonna do this, Trump's gonna do that, and throw the finger at everybody that isn't their complexion or their hue. I get it, but I have educated myself on politics in certain areas between Democrats and Republicans, and I'll be one of the few people that'll say there's things I agree with that Republicans believe, and there's things I agree with that Democrats believe. And there's things that I disagree with about the Democrats, and there's things I disagree with about the Republicans. However, what I hear from our culture is we go back and forth based off of what party is picked, and we call the Democrats the Democrat plantation, and then we call the groups of blacks that vote for Republicans the Uncle Toms, which y'all need to do y'all homework on the real Uncle Tom and what a Sambo is. But I'll digress on that topic. But what I'm saying is as a collective, we have to make a decision on what our struggle is going to be. Is our struggle going to, and then once we figure out what our struggle is, how do we attack the thing? How do we attack those things and make those weaknesses our strength? I mean, you hear it all the time right here on the podcast when I'm talking with the fellas. You've heard it on Thoughts of Dizzy episodes, which is now migrated over to the Epic Lounge Network. Had to throw that plug in there. But the point is that we really as a people have to pick a struggle regardless of what class you're in. And I know that a lot of the black affluent blacks and black people that are upper middle class have their thoughts on some of those blacks or some of us blacks, I'll say, that are probably not on their level. At the end of the day, you're still black. It don't matter what rooms you're in or whatever, you're still black. So collectively, regardless of our political views, our financial views, our cultural views on what we think of the culture, as a collective, we really do need to pick a struggle, because at the end of the day, we have now became a small minority in this country, and we've been the most influential in this country when it comes to talent and skills and abilities. Some will argue that our talent, skills, and abilities are trash. We get it. We know what side you're sitting on or whatever the case is. But the point that I'm making is that we really do need to pick a struggle as far as in what we're going to acknowledge as a huge problem in the community, because no pun intended, we got fires everywhere. I mean, I'm right here in California. LA has fires and things of that nature, but we also got fires in our community that have not been put out, and they just keep spreading and spreading and spreading. So if it was my barbecue, right, as far as in what I think the black community should be doing is we should be getting ourselves out of these deficits that these statistics show. Now, we can argue about who's taking these statistics, but at the end of the day, regardless if we want to believe them or not, we know that every statistic about us, there's a lot of truth in it. Now, how big that number is can be challenged, but we need to really figure out how we are going to have a better experience in this country. And, arguing about political views and stuff, like, personally, I think we need our own party, not just black people, because that ain't gonna get it done, but we definitely, I do think there should be a third party that is just as strong. I don't know if the Democrats and Republicans will ever let that happen, or the government will ever let that happen, but I do think that that's necessary. But okay, fine, if we can't have a strong enough fight in the White House, then we need to definitely do a better job in our communities and how we present ourselves, because yeah, we don't want to deal with the stereotypes, but how we carry ourselves, that matters. And it shows when things like a TikTok shutting down or a rapper that you really were inspired by or really liked support something that you've been totally against. Those things can kind of show how weak we are at times as far as in being unified, or just how weak we are about being unified in silence. Right? We can silently be unified by not trying to air everybody out that we disagree with. We just make everybody else's job easy that are prejudiced and that are racist towards us. So that's my take on that. I know it's a little long winded on that, but that's just how I see it. But we'll see what the first 30 days or 60 days and 90 days and how that's gonna play out with Donald Trump returning to the White House. One of the things that I wanted to cover that I thought was just crazy and ratchet and just wild was there was this video that was circulating online about this guy that this guy pulled up to what I believe is a form of some kind of like coffee shop or whatever the case it is. And I guess what he did is the shop or whatever. Let me see what it was called. It was called a coffee. It was a coffee business called Lust by the Coffee, right? Lust by the Coffee. And this black dude pulled up, and I think he had like a Hellcat Challenger, whatever the case is. And I guess, and he's married, by the way, whatever the case is. And he pulls up with his pants down, because he was, he was feeling himself, I guess. And he got filmed. Obviously, it got passed around all over the internet, and I feel like that's what led to him deleting himself. And you know why we gotta say delete for YouTube reasons, but he deleted himself, which I thought was awful. And I seen a couple people talking about it, and obviously apparently he was a brother that took himself out over the embarrassment. And I don't know if it's necessary to give advice. Because I just don't see a whole bunch of people just wilding out like that and then just ending their journey on this planet, from embarrassment. But I will say that, I did see some black content creators covering it, and, they had some takes on that man. That's an example of what I'm talking about with supporting in silence. I don't condone in a lot of the ratchet, crazy behavior that we exploit for profit all over the internet and all over the entertainment world. I don't. But at the same time, I don't think that we need to prove to the world or to other cultures that we'll reprimand our own, because they certainly don't care about proving to us that they reprimand their own. I don't care what group you're talking about. Usually when other groups reprimand their own on a cultural level, that's really just what they do. That's the process. That's how they feel. We ain't down with that, whatever the case is. But sometimes I feel like we do tap dance as a culture because we don't need to. We don't own any of these apps. We don't own any of these platforms. We may have a platform, but we don't own, the company that allows us to have a platform. I do think that sometimes it's better to just ignore that type of behavior. I think it was a little crazy. It was kind of ironic that the brother did pull up like that, and it turned into something crazy because this Lust coffee business is, I guess, a whole bunch of women that are exposing themselves with the way that they're dressed and bikinis and all that other stuff. So it looks like brother man got excited. Definitely didn't do a good job representing his wife, and got embarrassed and got himself up out of here. But it's when I see our people jump online and give their take and kind of drag the brother and make jokes. I mean, black people, we are very, very, very entertaining. We're very funny. We have a lot of dark humor, as well as cultural humor, as well as humor that everybody can laugh at. But I think one of the things with this digital era, the social media era, that we really got to pay attention to is when we drag each other, we talk about each other in the comment section, or when a story hits and we're trying to get our own numbers up, and there's not a really deep, meaningful message in the content that we're putting out, we're just exploiting ourselves when it used to just be other people exploiting us. Now we're doing half of the work for them. You go look at these amazingly shot content about, like, I watched a video, a couple videos on some of these gangster rappers and some of these drill rappers that are no longer with us. And these are people from other communities doing this. I mean, the production looks good, the audio looks good. They did their research, but it's not us covering this stuff. And the more that we exploit ourselves, the more that we allow other people to tell our story and then get mad when it isn't told correctly. Well, we need to take control. It's called permissionless media. Now we have it, and when you're in journalism and you're in media, you have a responsibility. Some people's responsibility in their mind and in their eyes is to give that shock value, be the first one to print it, and whatever. But I think as a community, our culture has a responsibility to not only tell our stories and tell our stories correctly, but also match the energy. If we're gonna expose all of the negative things that the black celebrities are putting out and black athletes are doing, we also need to balance the force with positive energy. People that are champions, people. I mean, we get more negative than positive, and I know that drives emotion and that drives numbers. But the only way to change that type of algorithm is by collectively, sharing all the information. We live in a time period where I see it all the time. I even see it on our comment section and our content. We see all the time our own. We'll put content out there, and it could be 15 seconds, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 120 seconds, and so forth, up to 3 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes, and people will really have an opinion and a passionate opinion about that, and they don't even have the whole story. They probably got a quarter of the story, and now this person's a slime ball, or this female is a prostitute, or however you want to spin it. We already have an opinion about these people. I mean, I'm even guilty of doing it at times, because I may watch a video with somebody that has done something that reminds me of a negative person I came across. But I've also been very wrong at times, and I'll have my opinion, and then I'll go look at all of the details, and I'll be like, damn, I was actually wrong. Like, this is an unfortunate scenario. I didn't even get this other side of the story. So I'm just telling you, like, people are going to do what they want. I know there's people looking at this video right now like, man, shut up, bro. You don't know, and go cut the video off, whatever. But for those that are open-minded and open to listening to some of these scenarios, I mean, look at what I just brought up. A guy that is supposed to be happily married goes out, does some things that is that dishonors his vows, that dishonors whatever kind of character he's developed about himself, or what he's portrayed to the world, and he's not here anymore over embarrassment. And that's how powerful social media is. That's how influential these apps are, and the internet. People say the internet is undefeated. I believe that, but the internet isn't the most powerful thing ever. It's just undefeated. And I would say more the algorithm than the internet. But I just looked at that situation. I thought it was very unfortunate, because I won't say that the brother made a mistake, but he made a bad decision, and he didn't give himself, or wasn't given a chance to correct it. He just did. I don't know what people think when they get in that mindset where it's like, I'm going to take myself out and then I won't have to deal with it. Nobody has taken himself out and came back to tell you how that experience is. So that's the most frightening thing about it. But I think the reality of it is, we make permanent decisions, not even knowing what is going to be on the other side like that. And then that's it. That now everybody else gets to tell this man's story. It's just kind of like the last episode when we talked about Twitch Boss and his wife. His wife, he deleted himself, and now, his wife is battling with his friends on what his real character was and who he really was as a person, and what he allegedly did versus what people are saying is false about him. So we really got to be careful in the decisions that we make, especially when we make permanent ones where we can't advocate for ourselves, because we don't want to be in a position where other people are telling our story. That's as an individual, and that's as a culture. So I mean, that's my take on that. As far as something else that really that that really spoke to me about our culture was, I don't know if a lot of people have heard of it, and I might drop some of these videos to reference some of the topics that I'm covering right now. But so if you're listening to audio, I'll try to do my best with the details on some of these events. But for those that kind of tune in on the YouTube and things of that nature, I'll try to share the clips in the episodes moving forward. Sometimes I'm not able to do it. I'm not able to pull the content. But what I wanted to share that really triggered me, and I seen this story on a couple other platforms, but I've been following D1 Music. I actually shout out to D1. I like his message and what he's been promoting. He's been challenged by a lot of other artists of big names, have called him names, have tried to call him out for doing the right thing and bringing a call to action to hip hop. But if you do come across this content, D1, many years ago, man, when you was more on the mainstream level, I reached out for a feature and you sent me a price that I just couldn't do at the time, man. But it wasn't a terrible price, man. But definitely have respect for you, D1. But he shared this story, and I've seen it before. He shared it. A 17-year-old basketball star, Noah Scurry, who had the highest SAT score in his graduating class, was killed in Philly a day after his diss to his ops in his first ever rap video. And then I've seen the video. They're all of the homies. They got their heat, and he's doing his thing in his Joker mask, but within 24 hours, he was out of here after putting that video up. The internet. Now, me and Poe talked on an episode about how the streets and the internet they're coming together. They're working in conjunction in a lot of scenarios. And this is one of those things where it's really unfortunate that and I've seen so many people in our community talk and have different opinions on this stuff. We all know Philly is not a place to play with, and they ain't playing with each other. They take beef a little bit differently as far as in controversy than a lot of different places. Every place has a hood that you don't play with. What I can't I'm not gonna say I can't wrap my head around it, but one of the things that I just can't accept is that, man, this dude is still a kid. Now, it could have been another kid that, punched his ticket. But I think the thing that trips me out is, I go to the comment section and I see so many people, with their opinions. And they're all people that look like us and look like him. Some people are like, man, that's unfortunate. Some people are like, well, you can't play like that. But I think the point is, there's more ways of protecting our youth than using somebody that's not here anymore as an example of what could happen to you. But obviously, this young man needed a little bit more guidance. Now, he was a great athlete, and I think it's unfortunate. I definitely have thoughts and prayers to this young man's family. But when I look at our culture and I look at our community, I'm more and more on a regular basis siding with D1 on what he's talking about. Because while people were laughing at him and people were trying to come at him for him speaking the truth and him calling it like he sees it and like we all see it, I gotta commend that, but I do look at the people that are getting at him like, well, what is he lying about? There's a lot of people. Some of these artists don't know. Some of y'all artists don't know. I'm an artist myself, but some of y'all artists, the big name artists, which y'all don't understand, is that you guys literally can make and have the power to make a soundtrack to somebody's demise. Let that sink in. That you could literally make an anthem for somebody's demise. Now, you might be at Club Live or somewhere in LA partying it up, or in Vegas partying it up, getting your streams, performing, getting that bag. But how many times do y'all think about like, hey man, somebody could have probably or has probably lost their life with this being the soundtrack and the motivating music behind that. Now, I am very protective over hip hop. I'm even protective over certain parts of gangster rap from the 80s. But what I will say is that I I do have a lot of empathy and I have a lot of sympathy for a lot of these families that have that energy and that had to deal with that type of experience. And what I mean is, even though I'm protective over what we put in our music, I still feel like we should be held accountable for what we put in our music. It goes both ways. I've heard this same kind of concept with comedy. There's a lot of comedians that are saying like, "Hey, comedy should be a protected place, and if it offends you and this, that, and the other, yeah, okay, but comedy should be protected." I agree with that too. I think Ari Spears said it best when he was like, "There's a time and place for it," but I do think that the art itself should be protected. But what we have to realize, and I want our community to understand this because this doesn't get enough depth in conversation when we talk about gun violence and street beef and things of that nature, okay? I need y'all to understand something. For the group of us in our community that want to point the finger at the artists and say, "You guys are the ones putting the music out, putting the music out, putting the music out." For those group of people, I hear you, I feel you, and I agree. The only thing that I say is keep that same energy or push that same energy on these record labels that choose to only promote and select artists that are going to perpetuate that behavior. We have to do both. We can't just talk to our own community about what kind of music we're putting out there because it's not. That's half of the problem. The other half of the problem is those people that are putting that type of music out there. There's some money being dangled in their face, and a lot of these people have slept in areas where it smells like piss every day, and they've been eating beans for the last 30 days, and their clothes got holes in them, and their families are on assistance and unhealthy and things of that nature. So for you to step in and go to that person and say, "Hey, listen, I know you're talented and you need to have more integrity. I don't care about your struggle," because their mind is in a different place. They're in survival mode, and it shows in the music. Now, I do agree that once you get on and you have a more financial control, then it's really a choice whether you want to keep perpetuating that. But I do think that those groups of people have to understand that feel that way about the artists, that they have the least control in these situations. Yeah, they provide the lyrics and they promote the song, but they're not the machine. They're not the distribution company. They're not the marketing company. They're not the shade rooms and the breakfast clubs and all of these different platforms that help them elevate their name and have that music circulating and things of that nature. So you got to go after more. You got to go after A&Rs. A&Rs is artist relations. They go out and they help handpick these artists that they're going to put on and perpetuate the music. Leave the producers alone. They making beats. They're not the ones telling you, "I made this beat for somebody to get shot at." So leave the producers alone. But the executive producers, the people that help mold the type of album they're going to drop and the type of concept the videos are going to be, yeah, you can go at them. You can go at it. You can even go at some of these video cinematographers, man. You're choosing to paint that picture and put that out there, but there's so many people to go at, and I've always despised it. I'm gonna be honest, as an artist, I've always despised it as an artist that had that experience. That people did that. I remember back in the day when my brother, we were shooting videos all the time for my mixtapes, and I used to always tell him, "I don't want to do this or I don't want to do that because nobody's gonna go at the cinematographer, the video guy. They're gonna go at the artist as if he was the one that shot, directed, and cut up the video." You know what I'm saying? So there's more people that are responsible, but I just think that anytime people, especially youngsters, young kids, are getting removed from existence, okay, because of an art form, we really need to go back and we really need to evaluate some of the art. Art is expressions and experiences, and current experiences or past experiences. But when when it gets to this point, it didn't just get to this point. It didn't just get here. It's been here. But when it's affecting us too much like that, because it's affecting us the most. You don't hear. I'm not saying it doesn't exist or will never exist, but you just don't hear about a whole bunch of white kids dissing each other, and then there's gang activity, and people ain't here no more because of some stuff over the internet. You don't hear about that in that community and in other communities as much as you hear about it in our own. I'm not saying it doesn't exist in other communities, but it's not as common. What this story about this young man has happened probably 1,000 times since hip hop was invented until now. Probably 1,000 times the same type of story. And this is another conversation of pick a struggle. Like, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do about it? This isn't even a scenario where we can make the excuse that he was a troublesome kid. This is the model student and teenager that most of us as black parents want to have. And whoever was behind him as far as in raising him up to be the type of young man he became, it's almost like they probably have had to feel like, man, all of that work went to waste, keeping his grades up and making sure he had an outlet, to play sports and stuff like that, and support his experiences. It's almost like all that work and all that effort to get him to this point is for nothing, not because of necessarily what he did, because these are words we're talking about. I get that there's street rules and things of that nature, but let me help y'all understand something. For the street dudes, for the dudes that ain't street, I need you guys to understand something. Y'all cats that walk the sidewalks and ain't in the streets like that, there's nothing wrong with not being gangster and not being hood. Because let me tell you, all those gangster and hood dudes, what I've learned about the ones that I personally know, I know a couple things about gangsters. The ones that's, drill music and all of that stuff. You want to know what's crazy about those guys? They're just as much of a nerd as you are. A lot of these gangsters are actually really book smart, really educated. They probably didn't have some of the opportunities that you have or had, but they're really smart. Okay? I know that for a fact because I've been around bullies and hood dudes and gangsters that were killing me with grades in high school. They're actually really smart. They actually want to do what you do and be comfortable with it, but the homies won't let it happen, or their tough cousins won't let it happen. But a lot of these guys are smart. A lot of these guys are funny. A lot of these guys are entertaining and non-threatening to people that have never seen the sides that they show their oppositions in the hood. Yep, that's true. That is true. And for the hood dudes, the dudes that are in the streets that do try to play the hard, tough guy persona, what I understand about y'all is that you guys have a lot of discomfort with with being accepted by better. And what I mean by that is, because again, I know some of y'all, but what I mean by that is you do have a talent, you do have a skill, you do want more, right? But because the big homie or because the hood say that that's corny or sucker, or you trying to be white or whatever the case is, you will really hold yourself back. And what you gotta, and you've heard this from older people our age. You heard everything I'm saying. You've heard it before, but I'm just repeating it to somebody it might get to. You know that that street life, whatever the case is, it's not, nothing is guaranteed from that lifestyle. But when you look at somebody like myself or people that want to walk on the sidewalk, don't want to participate in the street life, when you look at those people, you know that they have an advantage that you wish you had. A lot of y'all got to look over your shoulders. I have somebody that I'm very cool with, that I got records with, that I haven't even put the records out yet, that told me that one of the reasons he liked working with me on my music is because I never tried to be something I wasn't from day one. That's what he told me. And this is a dude that's really been in the streets, really been locked up, really did some things in life. Is pretty known in the city. It's pretty known in other cities. is pretty known in certain beefs. He told me like, he said like, that's why I respect you. And he also told me, he said, man, it must feel good to just like be able to do your thing and not have to look over your shoulder. And I'll never forget when he told me that. Out of all the people I met that's done all kinds of crazy things, I'll never forget him telling me that, because that's when I started having empathy. He probably done some things in life that I would disagree with, or probably have a strong opinion on, but I had a lot of empathy, because it's like, for him to be able to tell me something that should be so simple for everybody, let me know that them streets is real. But the main point that so many people don't express and don't explain is that when it comes to that gang life and the people that are trying to portray that gang life and that gangster stuff, it's synonymous. Drake's had a line that I liked on his first album when he said, I think it went like, rap and sports are so synonymous because we want to be them and they want to be us. I mean, I'm just paraphrasing. I don't think it was exactly like that, but I felt that. And the reason why I felt that is because I remember in my life as a youngster, like I see Snoop Dogg and Ice Cube, man, I want to be a gangster. And a lot of my family, on depending on what side we're talking about, were Crips. I was born and raised to a certain point in Southern California. So there was a lot of Crips in the areas that I lived in, and we liked Snoop Dogg, and but I also, on other sides of my family, I got Bloods in my family. You know what I'm saying? But the point is even as a young person, I was influenced and wanted to be a part of this, wanted to be a part of that, and it looks like a protection family. And for some of these guys that are in the streets, it is protection and it is family, because they already didn't come from much. But I think that what we got to understand as a community is, when we look at gangsters, when we look at street dudes, we really do got to understand and realize that they would love to be civil and be in an environment where they could be civil. But so many things they have seen and experienced, and so many letdowns have happened in their life, that they won't believe that it'll happen to them or it'll happen for them. You know what I'm saying? And then for the ones that do get that opportunity, now they're in the battle because they're pulled in the direction they've always really wanted to be deep down inside. But at the end of the day, they don't want nobody to think they're a sucker, because that's what's been embedded in them their whole life. And the same thing goes for the people that walk the straight, narrow path. Like, man, I wish I was respected like that. I wish I didn't have to get checked or punked or whatever the case is. Or I wish everybody knew that I was brave and I was tough, outside of just sports. And nah, man, you are. There's a lot of people that respect you too, but there's a misunderstanding too. And even with those guys, when they get around people that are hood or gangsters or whatever, and they look at them like you're too good, or you act like you're too good, or you better, or you a little smart guy, you a little college guy, and it's not even like that. That's just all they know. So there really is a misunderstanding on both sides. But the crazy thing is, when it's that type of misunderstanding, like what happened to this young man after putting out a song 24 hours, that's a misunderstanding that nobody can truly learn from. You can only just accept by force the loss. So I hope that, when we look at these stories regarding this young man, and we look at what we perpetuate and what we decide to debate on, I hope that we're more responsible in conversations. I hope we're more responsible in the messages that we put out. It would be awesome. I would love to be an old man, a really old man, and look at hip hop and rap as being more positive. You can still be tough about certain things. Toughness ain't always about harming somebody or taking somebody from their family. Because let me tell you, going to work 5-6 days a week, working hours on hours on hours, and barely having sleep, that's tough. Raising children, that's tough. Doing it day in and day out, when sometimes you don't even know how you're going to get through the day, that's tough. Not having help when you deserve help, it's all tough. It is. It is. And depending on who you pick, they won't want to wear your shoes and you won't want to wear their shoes. People always say, walk a mile in my shoes, and you never been in my shoes. Some people will swap shoes and be like, I could do it, man. Give me my shoes back. It's been 5 minutes. I get it. But in our community, we got a lot of cleaning up to do. We have a lot of struggles that we need to pick. But most importantly, we gotta really figure out and dedicate what kind of conversation we're going to have collectively that's going to be effective for our culture, our existence. And we really have to, I don't think we should take candor out of the way that we deal with each other when the situation calls for that. But I do think we need to find a better song to sing when it comes to how we're going to call each other out, when we're going to call each other out, and what the results need to be when we call each other out. I think we need to check each other in private more. I think we can get a lot more done in the community if we check each other in private. One of my close friends gave me that advice when we were teenagers. And that's probably one of the last times that I've been in a fist fight. He told me, he said, hey man, when you take a person away from the audience and you talk to them one-on-one, you'll find out a lot of times they don't want to be that tough or that confrontational, but they got to put on a show. They got to keep the character alive and the respect. And conversations, and most conversations in private, never lead to violence and physical violence. So to you young people out there, somebody you got some smoke with, pull them aside one-on-one. You ain't got your homies, they ain't got their homies, and you see how tough they really are. Most of them aren't. Being a young black man and dealing with that, growing up in school and in neighborhoods, man, when you get the toughest dude one-on-one, it's totally different. I've had some people that were more of the aggressor in my scenario because I kept my cool, trying to practice a little stoicism. It ended differently, and some of these guys are good friends of mine. So I just want to put that out there. I know these are some pretty heavy topics, but they were definitely heavy on the heart to talk about. And I know the guys, if they could have made it today, they would have had their takes on it. But definitely think about these things while we're at the top of 2025 and we're moving forward. Well, you've heard and seen the expressions, we all we got. And a lot of our struggles and conversations, we truly are all that we have. So we got to figure out how we're going to be able to collectively come together no matter what your walk is and what your experience in your past is. So anyways, you've been tuning in to the Notion Podcast. I'm your host, Dizzy D. Spill. Tune in for next week. And you already know, like, subscribe, follow, leave comments. Let me know what you think. You already know Dizzy is here with the smoke on the debates. You feel me? But definitely tap in, turn your notifications on, follow us on all platforms, even TikTok, even though there's some struggles. We don't know how long it's going to be here. But until next time.